The check was sitting on the kitchen table. Standard bank draft, blue safety paper. The amount was typed in bold black ink. $3.24. Mrs. Higgins was crying. She's 78, widowed. She looked up at me, eyes red. She said, "They said I have to be out by Friday, Jim. They said it's their house now." I looked at the document. Notice to vacate, signed by Brad Sterling, HOA president. I'm a retired auditor. I've seen bad books. I've seen embezzlement. But I'd never seen a 3-bedroom brick ranch in Texas, valued at $340,000, sold for the price of a medium coffee. I told her they can't do this, but according to the county recorder stamp on the deed, they already had. I didn't know it then, but that $3.24 was going to cost Brad Sterling a hell of a lot more than a cup of coffee. Our neighborhood is outside Austin, the kind of place where the heat creates a shimmer over the asphalt by 10 a.m. Mrs. Higgins had the best roses on the block, peace roses, yellow and pink. I've lived next door for 12 years. I handle her taxes. She bakes me pecan pie. It's a good system. She paid her house off in '98, no mortgage, just taxes, insurance, and the HOA dues, $400 a year. Then came Brad Sterling, real estate investor. Became HOA president 6 months ago because nobody else wanted the job. He treated the neighborhood like his personal portfolio. I told Mrs. Higgins to ignore him. "Just pay your dues," I said. "He's a nuisance, not a threat." I was wrong. It happened Tuesday. Saw a black SUV pull up. Brad got out. He wasn't wearing his usual polo. He was in a suit. A sheriff's deputy was with him. I walked out, wiping grease off my hands. "Everything all right?" Brad didn't look at me. He looked at the house, like he was measuring it for drapes. "Just serving a final eviction, Jim. Official business." "Eviction?" I asked. "She owns the place." Brad smiled, that thin corporate smile that doesn't reach the eyes. "Not as of yesterday's auction. The HOA exercised its lien rights. Property was acquired to satisfy the debt." Mrs. Higgins was in the doorway, shaking. I stepped between them. "What debt?" Brad held up a ledger page. "Unpaid assessments and legal fees. We followed the Texas Property Code to the letter. She has 3 days. He handed her the check. "And here's the overage from the sale. Proceeds due to the former owner. $3.24. Brad turned on his heel. "Clean it out, Jim. I've got contractors coming Monday." I got Mrs. Higgins inside, made her tea. Then I went to work. In Texas, HOAs have power. Too much power. I pulled her records. January, dues paid, $400, check cleared. February, nothing due. March, a fine, $50, improper trash can placement. April, late fee, $25. May, interest, $3.24. She'd paid the $50, she'd paid the $25, but she'd missed the interest charge. Because she missed it, the computer system flagged her account as delinquent. Once delinquent, the system added an administrative fee, $100, then a notice of intent fee, $150, then attorney referral, $500. By June, her $3 debt was $2,400. They foreclosed on a $340,000 house over a rounding error. But that wasn't the smoking gun. The smoking gun was the sale itself. I went to the county online records, found the trustee's deed. Winning bidder, Willow Creek HOA. Winning bid, $3.24. I stared at the screen. My auditor brain locked up. Usually an HOA bids the full amount of the debt to wipe the slate clean. For the sale price to be $3, 2 things had to happen. 1, nobody else showed up to bid. 2, the HOA bid only the original interest amount. Something was wrong. I needed an expert. I called Sarah. She's a title officer downtown. We used to work audits together. "Sarah," I said, "pull file 20260492. I heard her typing. Then the typing stopped. "Jim," she said, "this is a mess. The foreclosure affidavit says notice of sale was sent via certified mail on July 1st. "Okay," I said. "But look at the return receipt scan. It's not signed by Mrs. Higgins. It's stamped return to sender, no such number." I froze. What address did they mail it to? 4208 Willow Creek Drive. I looked out the window at Mrs. Higgins' mailbox. The brass numbers glinted in the sun. 4288. "That's her address, Sarah." "Wait," she said. "I'm zooming in. That's not a 0. That's an 8. They mailed it to 4288 Willow Creek Drive." "Sarah," I said, "the street ends at 4250. 4288 doesn't exist." "Exactly," she said. "They mailed the foreclosure notice to a phantom house. The post office returned it. They held the auction anyway." "That makes the sale voidable," I said. "There's something else," Sarah said. "The sale price, $3.24. If they paid that amount, that means they didn't pay off the legal fees or the lien. They just transferred title. They technically foreclosed on themselves." "So they stole the house," I said. "Worse," she replied. "They stole it incompetently, but until you prove it, she's homeless on Friday." I hung up. I went to the post office. The clerk, Manny, dug through the undeliverable bin. "Here it is," he said. "Tried to deliver 3 times. Carrier noted address out of range." The timestamp was July 3rd. The auction was July 20th. They knew 3 weeks before the auction that she never got the notice. I made 15 copies, 1 for the judge, 1 for the sheriff, and 13 for the HOA board meeting that night. The meeting started at 7. Brad was at the head table, looking victorious. "We're looking at a significant asset acquisition," Brad was saying into the microphone. "The Higgins property will be renovated and rented." Mrs. Higgins squeezed my hand. I stood up. "Point of order." Brad sighed. "Jim, we're in the middle of the treasurer's report." "This concerns the treasurer's report, specifically the asset acquisition." I walked to the front table, dropped the stack of binders. Thud. "The deed you recorded yesterday," I said, voice loud enough to reach the back row, "lists the sale price as $3.24. A murmur went through the room. $3, I repeated, for a $300,000 home. "That was a valid auction," Brad snapped. "Market forces determined the price." "Market forces?" I opened the binder. "Or the fact that you mailed the notice of sale to 4288 Willow Creek Drive, a phantom house that doesn't exist." Mike, the treasurer, picked up the binder. He looked at the photocopy of the envelope, then at Brad. "Brad, is this true?" "Clerical error," Brad waved a hand. "Doesn't invalidate the debt." "Texas Property Code, Section 51.002, I recited. "Service is only valid if sent to the last known address. You sent it to a typo. You knew it was returned. You sold it anyway." I turned to the audience. "And here's the kicker. Because you bought it for $3, you didn't pay off the lien." I pointed to the screen. "The HOA didn't acquire an asset. You acquired a lawsuit. I filed for a temporary restraining order an hour ago. The judge signed it at 6:45. Brad checked his phone. His face went white. "This is harassment," Brad stammered. "You acted to steal a widow's home for the price of a cheeseburger, and you messed up the paperwork." The room erupted. "Resign," someone shouted. Brad banged the gavel. "Meeting adjourned." "One more thing," I said. I slid the check across the table. The blue bank draft. "You can keep your $3.24. We don't want your change. We want the deed." The judge didn't just void the sale. He tore Brad a new one. Constructive fraud was the phrase used. The HOA had to pay Mrs. Higgins legal fees, $5,000, and reinstate her title immediately. Brad resigned the next morning, sold his house a month later, moved to Florida. The roses are in full bloom now, yellow and pink. Mrs. Higgins is out there every morning. I checked my mail today. Another HOA notice. Annual picnic, Saturday. I think I'll go. I hear the burgers are free, which is good because $3.24 doesn't buy much these days.